contrast. I'm Brian K.
I'm Kyle A.
What do you say?
It's a good day.
You got it today.
Yeah, so my inspirational quote for the day is, do today for what you want tomorrow.
Bingo.
Yeah, isn't that the truth?
Man. Do today for what you want tomorrow.
And in our world, if you're an agent, that means you got to get out and create relationships in order to be productive in the future.
Every day.
And you can apply this to everything in life. One is, if you want to get healthy, then you have to do today so you can be healthy tomorrow. Same with your bank accounts. Same with everything in life. It's do today what you want tomorrow. So if you want to be rich tomorrow, you got to save today. If you want to be in shape tomorrow, you got to work out today. So on and so forth. We can apply that to everything in life, and I think, especially for agents out there, this is a good one when it comes to lead generation, setting up your business model to the best of your ability.
Well, you were just talking about coaching.
Yeah.
Okay, and business models, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to be an overly successful agent to act like one.
No.
But you won't be an overly successful agent if you don't act like one.
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
So it starts somewhere, and it starts today.
Yes.
That first step that you take on the journey.
Yes, absolutely. So if you're a new agent, just checking in, is one of the things is listen to your peers.
What was that?
Listen to your peers.
Oh.
Something I didn't do. You don't want to make a Kyle, right?
Tell me more.
Well, I got into this industry, and I kind of got my ego got in the way right off the get go. Some things happened.
So you're human.
Yes.
And just for the record, like anybody that has an inkling of success in sales in general at the start of their career, their ego's going to get in the way.
Well, I didn't really have any success. I think my ego got in the way because I wasn't willing to listen to people. And I wasn't even succeeding. But the truth is I was making pre-assumptions. I was assuming things that weren't true because I didn't like the way I saw something. And so I thought, everybody's like, don't recreate the wheel, Kyle, don't recreate the wheel. Well, I'm this guy who's like, screw that, I want to create my own wheel.
That's stupid. Why would I do it like everybody else?
Right. I'm not like everybody else.
I got my own way.
Right. And they're like, well, you're going to have a hard time succeeding. Well, the truth is I haven't had a hard time succeeding, but I've realized a lot since then, and now I'm learning how to run the wheel.
If I said, hey, let's do a road trip to New York, right, you and me, let's leave right now. First thing we do, fill up the car, right, so we get mind, body, spirit,
right,
good night's sleep, right, and the next thing you do is you punch in the GPS how to get to New York.
Right.
Now, you can definitely get to New York via Texas, right?
Yeah, or any other state.
You can get to New York and go through Texas.
Right.
It may not be the quickest route.
Right.
And we know that because other people have done it.
Right.
And they created something
yeah.
that they're like, hey, here's the best way to get to New York if you want.
Exactly. So it doesn't hurt to listen, and that's where I'm taking that step back and, in truth, starting my business over.
Yeah, and a lot of it, just because I know your background, it's not morals or ethic issues. It's just been standards, systems,
Exactly.
the 9 to 5 grind.
Right.
That's not for Kyle.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's cool, and it's challenging, which is good because it's me that I'm having to get over.
Yeah.
And so when that pit falls in the stomach, it's like, okay, then I need to figure out how to remove that pit.
And you can do almost 180 degrees opposite. You can show up to the office every day.
Yeah.
I was an example of this at the start of my career. You can show up to the office every day. You can be present. You can dress like a realtor. You can go to the office like a realtor. You can drink coffee like a realtor, and you can still not do the right actions.
Yeah.
That make success, right? Which in our business and most of sales is building relationships.
That's it.
So if you're not having conversations, And I talk to agents, unfortunately, in this business quite a bit where I go, what are you doing for lead gen? Oh, well, I don't really do anything for lead gen.
Yeah, that's how I used to be. Which isn't true. I just wasn't conscious.
Intentional.
Yeah.
There
There was no systems in place to actually say, this is why I do this. This is,
right.
I meet somebody, I bring their name home, I immediately input them, write down a little note about what was said, so I can bring it to the top of my mind, so I can be top of mind in their mind. None of that ever happened.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm going back and redoing that, and so a whole lot of stuff is coming back up to the surface. It is. It's a mind blow. So my advice to any new agent out there, just hands down, is listen to the people who've been doing it. Go in wholeheartedly and just break those barriers.
And someone told you that many a times, I'm sure, time and time again. And sometimes it just doesn't happen. So one thing that, I was working with my coach and he was saying, sometimes you've got to make a mess.
Yeah, I made a mess.
And there's beauty in that as well, because in making a mess, you do have a focus. And knowing you, one of the things that has gotten you to this point in your career is that your focus was on the relationships that were strong to build.
Right.
So the clients that they probably, looking back, and I don't know this, but it was probably the clients that worked harder at reaching out to you. Because in this business, follow-up's the key, and so you talk to someone one time, if they didn't call you back, maybe you just put them in the never dust land. But it's about, and eventually you'll find some people that are like, hey, I want to follow up with you, Kyle. Hey, and then you start working with them. And I was guilty of that. All the money's made in the follow-up.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this, and this is gonna, speaking of new agents here, don't be that guy. Don't be that guy that thinks, that they'll reach out to me when they want something. That's not the case. You need to be working to reaching out to them so you can be present with them. Take notes. Have a list of things that you need to talk about so you can be intentional with your conversations. But don't just expect people to reach out to you. You're the one looking for their business, right? They have 1,000 people they can go to. In our little area, they have 1,000 people. What makes you so special? It might just be that you care enough to keep following up. And it's like this. If you go to a place, if you're looking for a job, you go to a place and you say, hey, I really want to work here, and you write out an application to that place, and they say, oh, we're not hiring now. Are you just going to give up? Because when I was looking for work, I never gave up. I went and pestered a company until they hired my ass. Right? That's how. And then they realized this guy, he wants this job. If he's willing to work this hard at trying to get this job, how hard is he willing to work while he's at the job? And I think we all need to keep that in our mind. And I didn't. I let it kind of go. I was that guy. I was like, I didn't want to bother him. I didn't want to, overstep my bounds and be a nuisance. And some of that's got to go out the window. It just really does. Because your objective is to get through. And if those people are like, hey, leave me alone, then that's the time to say leave me alone. That's the time to just leave them alone.
Yeah, but very few people do that. And that's the part that takes time, right? So enough Kyle bashing now, Kyle.
I'm not Kyle bashing. I'm just being honest.
And I appreciate your honesty. Unfortunately, we intended this podcast to be about me and you counteracting, and now you're getting on board with everything, and so
now it's not like that.
Now,
we're gonna go back and forth on things. It's just,
of course, and here's what the other thing too is: too many times we think we're pestering someone. Too many times, at least this was my frame of mind. Well, I don't want to bug them. I never wanted to be that, that salesman that was like, "Are you ready to buy? Are you ready to buy? Are you ready to buy?" And it's not like that. The first time you call someone, they're in the middle of something, and they weren't even ready for you to call them.
Right.
Okay, so they logged onto your website, they left all the information, you're calling them back Tuesday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and they're like, hey Kyle, yeah, and loved talking to you, but right at that juncture in time, they were mowing the lawn, the kid was crying, whatever. They hung up the phone with the best of intention to remember you, do whatever, and life happened.
Right.
And then a week later, they're thinking to themselves, that guy called. I really liked him. I wonder, crap, I couldn't even find his number now if I wanted to.
Yeah.
And so those that are turtles and want to sit back like I used to be, miss out on that opportunity.
Yeah.
Because what happens later on down the road, you're just like, man, I haven't talked to this person in 2 years, and you call them up and they're like, dude, I totally liked you, but I couldn't find your number, and
That literally just happened to me.
well, there it is.
So I'm getting my hair cut. I'm walking out, and my barber's like, "Hey, have a good day, Kyle." And this lady goes, "Kyle Andrews?" I said, "Yeah," and I did not recognize her. And she goes, "Remember me? I was at the car wash. We met a couple years ago." She goes, "I went into Keller Williams looking for you. I couldn't remember your name on Facebook." She says, "I would have used you. I had to sell this property." She goes, "But I found somebody that was a referral to me anyway, and they did a good job." So I sat and had a conversation, and I was just grateful that she even remembered me.
Yeah, there
You
it
know?
is.
That case in point.
Yeah, and we get in our head that they don't want to be bugged.
Right.
You know, I can tell you, I just left a meeting an hour ago with a gal, and she called on a house that I had for sale. It was a Facebook. She found the house through Facebook.
Yeah.
Okay, she has a general idea what her house is worth where she's living now, based off tax assessments and an old appraisal, but she has zero idea of how to navigate through any of this.
Right. That's common.
And so my first conversation with her, after about 2 minutes, wasn't about buy this house, buy this house, buy this house. It's about, these are the steps.
Right.
This is where we ought to start.
Right.
Because you got to sell your house to buy a house, right? So let's
Absolutely.
start talking about that. Let's talk about the exit strategy. Let's add value, right? And that's not going to happen in one conversation.
No.
That's going to happen over a series of conversations.
And that we want to get there.
Mm-hmm.
We want to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to be able to, at least what I'm learning now, is we have to be able to structure our conversations to get us there. You know?
Bingo.
And so you can still call this real contrast, Brian, because see, it's a real contrast the way that I'm changing.
We'll see the butterfly emerge from the cocoon.
We'll find out, and I think it'll definitely elevate our conversations.
Butterflies do elevate.
They do.
They fly high.
They do.
They fly high.
You better not do that. Sorry.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to talk about today here, Kyle?
Yeah, so my question is, what's your opinion on financial statements before being able to view a property?
Okay. Give me a price range.
$3 million.
3 million. And are you looking at it from the seller's point of view or
Actually, I think
in general?
I think we want to look at it from the seller's point of view, and I think we want to look at it from the buyer's point of view as well. And I think this would shine on to an agent's point of view.
Yeah.
Obviously. So
Well,
hit it from both sides. I mean, I think they all mesh together.
let's fill in our peeps that don't know. Sometimes you get a listing, $3 million listing is why I asked price range, and you want to go show your clients that house, but the seller or the seller's agent won't allow anybody to show the house without showing proof of funds or pre-approval.
Right.
Okay, so what's my opinion on that? First off, it's the seller's house. They can do what they want.
Right.
Let me ask you this, Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
If I gave you a financial statement, is it possible that I've done that fraudulently?
Well, it could be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I could give you a financial statement from ABC Bank.
Yeah.
Now, you as a seller should be calling, or the seller's agent should be calling and confirming that this is in fact a legitimate proof of funds, I personally think that it's a good thing. And the reason that I think this is because I think we have to explain how today Zillow works in some of these online internet. So, and this is part of the problem, in my opinion, of buyer agency and disclosures and things like that. Today, you call up, go on to Zillow, Redfin, I don't know how many websites have, but they say request a showing.
Right.
And so you go on, you request a showing on fill in the blank ABC internet website, and what it does is most of them have partnered with agents, and they're providing them either the agents are buying the opportunity to get those leads, or in some of these cases actually work for the company, which is I think of the Redfin model, which is they get an hourly wage or whatever. So the buyer says, I want to go see this house, 123 Main Street. It's a $3 million house, and most agents are not doing a proper pre-qualification until they take them to a house.
Right. So you're situational awareness in a sense.
Well, and we don't have this problem here in North Idaho as much, but it's a safety issue too.
Yeah.
Because if I see a $3 million house and I'm a thief, maybe that's my new game plan.
Yeah.
I'm just logging on to ABC website and saying request a showing, and I meet him there, and I've got a fancy watch and a nice car because I stole it from the last place.
Yeah, well, I get your point of view. I'm going to have to, so this is where we're going to disagree. I completely,
Let's do it.
I completely disagree with that line. And the reason, and I can give examples, but we'll just get right into the meat of it, is if I am bringing a buyer to the table, let's say I've worked with that buyer for a long time. Now, depending on how you want to structure the deal, seller carry, or if you're going to be going in with cash or conventional. So let's just look at cash, let's just look at cash. I don't want to, before they even go in the house, I do not want to give away my client's position with their money, because that house may be listed at $3 million, but that's not what my client's willing to pay. And now if my client shows them their bank account, they're like, yeah, but they got the money.